Hello, welcome to Ghost Prime's Transformers Reviews. In anticipation of the Studio Series 86 Slug, I want to take a look at the Generation 1 Slag. Now, he comes from the Diaclone line, and he was introduced in 1985 into the Generation 1 cartoon and toy line, and he was created by Wheeljack. And it's a pretty cool episode where they actually had to put him back into stasis because they were too violent. It's a fun episode. In fact, that's part of his personality, is just to be overwhelmingly violent. This character is a very violent character of all the Dinobots, as according to his bio. Now, he did come in a couple different versions as far as the Transformers versions. He had this US version, which had the black head, and there was also a Canadian version, which had a red head, which shows up in the cartoon. I don't have a redhead one. If you could find a cheap redhead one or something that you could find that you could affordable, buy it, because those are hard to find. As of this guy, there is a lot of KOs of him, so I'd be careful looking at KOs, especially for loose examples. They're getting harder and harder to discern. There is a little bit of a difference on the box, though, and you could totally tell. Price will also tell. You're not going to pay $35 for an original Generation 1 Dinobot in the box. It's just not going to happen. So that, of course, is another way to tell. Now, there was a few different updates from this figure in modern times. Not a lot, not as many as, say, Grimlock, because he's not as popular, but he's still a very popular character. So why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, and without any further ado, let's get to the review. All right, taking a look at the figure himself, I have him already armed up. He has some beautiful detail, wonderful red chrome on the chest, chrome behind the head there, chrome behind the clear plastic on the tail, chromed feet, chromed, I don't know exactly what this part's called on the Triceratops, so if you guys know, please go ahead and mark that in the comments. Chrome here on two little parts on the back. It's also on the side in Dino Mode. He has these clear parts and just a ton of detailing all over him. This is definitely one of my favorite Dinobots. I'm really happy we're getting an updated version of him. This rocket launcher could come off. It goes on either shoulder and can show up in Dino Mode. It is an excellent figure. It looks really, really, really awesome. Now, as I previously mentioned, there are KOs. One of the ways you can tell there's a KO is if you look right here. Come on, let's focus on the horn. There will be a little circle on the KO right there. Otherwise, the KOs have gotten really good at looking correct instead of how they had before. They had this being the wrong color. The mouth plate was gold. The red wasn't chromed. The two-piece chrome pieces on the back were actually gold chrome. But now they've actually got smartened up, and it's actually a lot harder to tell. So if you're looking at a loose one, that's how you could tell. There is a few box variations. I'll put a link down there to high-end TFs. You could look over that, and they have some just differences on the KOs and originals for all the Dinobots. It's really important to know if you're getting a vintage original or a KO, if that means something to you. All right, let's get into a little bit of articulation. For articulation, his arms can move down and around. They will go 360 if the head didn't get in the way there, but he can move back and forth like that. And he has these. And it being G1, that's pretty much it. This does rotate. So I guess you could count that, and it kind of fires. The spring is shot. They were also not exactly the best in Generation 1 for the Hasbro versions, but that's pretty much it for articulation on this Generation 1 figure, but man, does he look good. So let's get into some comparisons real quick. Here are the Dinobots all together. You see, he does scale very nicely, the Dinobots. They look beautiful together. Moving on with comparisons, here he is with his Generation 2 counterpart. I always really loved the green version of the Generation 2 one. I believe there was also a Generation 1 coloration version. And there he is with everyone's favorite Autobot, Generation 1 Optimus Prime. You see how they scale together. So for transformation, we will start by removing his weapons, his sword, his shoulder-mounted weapon, which pegs in just like that. And his blaster gun. So we have him here. First thing we want to do is push in the fists. Take his jaw or chest piece and move it up like that. Also, there's the place for the Diaclone driver. Move his arms up, like so. His legs are a little tricky. His wings still stay out like that. So he has this tail piece here. And that needs to go on the other side because his legs, which will pull out a bit to go around the tail piece, is up, move it up, and move his legs around. Mine, the hips are really tight. So they slide like this. And that sliding will help move the tail around, so the tail could actually fit through the middle here, and you can move the tail out and back around. Pretty clever design. I actually really, it's impressive for a Generation 1. They do have some clever pieces on them. My hips are very, very tight, so after that you kind of push them closed again. So you want to get that like that. You take the wings, fold them down and around, take the legs here in the back, fold the feet down like that, and then you have his Triceratops mode. Now mine has the very common problem, because this chest piece is metal and this is plastic, of looking surprised all the time or talking in the middle of saying something, which kind of a bummer, but it displays well in robot mode. But that is a common issue, so if you find one that is tight, that's awesome. Mine, unfortunately, isn't, but it's got beautiful stickers and it's in really nice shape. Otherwise, that's how he looks in Dino Form. In Dino Form, he does have this plastic that shows up that is the clear with the gold under it. You can see his chrome accents here and here and here. Wonderful clear plastic here for the legs. And you see this is just a hole. Well, that's a hole because you could take his rocket launcher and the rocket, and you could stick that in his shoulder piece in Dino mode. Really, you don't even need to take it off to transform him. But I'll get that all the way in there. It's a tight fit. Very tight fit in the shoulder there. There we go. And missile back in. So he is an armed dinosaur, almost like a Dino Rider, but not quite. But again, it does move. So he can aim and fire. Now articulation is, of course, his jaw goes up and down. His horns can move back and forth and around. You can move them to aim them. And his legs are stationary, but his knees you can rotate. So these legs, I don't know why they're stationary. I believe they're on a square peg, so you can modify it, but I'm not going to modify Generation 1. Here he is with his Generation 2 counterpart. Now, I don't have any of the weapons for this guy. This was a gift to me, which I'm very grateful for. Like I said, I love the green coloration on him. But one thing he can do is move his legs like that. He also doesn't have this piece here. I'm not sure if the Generation 1 colored version of it does have that. As you can see, he has the cap there, and that does not have a cap on either side. But that's how they look together. So I absolutely dig this figure. I love all the detail they put on these Generation 1 toys. They are just brimming with details. I mean, the details are just amazing. My missile shot out. I just look at all that detail on him. Very, very cool. Very cool figure. Love it. Love it so much. He is an awesome figure. I absolutely love the Dinobots. Definite recommendation and a must to have in your Generation 1 collection. Pick them up if you can. I prefer vintage originals, but KOs are out there relatively cheap as well. So pick one up. I mean, you can't go wrong. He's an awesome figure. So please subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.